What's up, Rockstars? It's the end of the week, and I have a big update for you. We got a lot of news to cover, a lot of campaigns that have ended, that canceled. We got some mobs at Gen Con. We got some cool games available right now for you. There's a whole lot to discuss, so stay tuned. All right, we got a lot to go over this week, so let's go ahead and jump right in. But first, hope you had a great week. Starting off with Bear Mountain Camping Adventure, A Race to the Top. This one I have covered once before. It looks super cool. This is probably one I'm gonna back, but I have 21 days still to decide. So I'll mull over it a bit and maybe forget about it and save some money, or get it and then enjoy a cool looking kind of game. It's all about outdoors camping, stuff like that, but there's a lot of other activities, so hiking and other things too, not just camping. And there's all forms of camping. You can go tent camping, you can go fake camping in RVs, you do all sorts of stuff. So real camping, fake camping, it's got it all. Looks super cool. 5,000 people have actually backed it against reaching 500,000, which is cool because the next stretch goal, it's way down here, 550,000, I believe, is for the dual layer player boards, which is a fan favorite. Everybody loves it because it fits your tokens on there real nice and stuff. It looks real good. It feels better because it's a little bit thicker and stuff like that. So the dual layer player boards, 550,000. That'll be the deluxe edition exclusive. So the retail edition, VIP special, retail edition, $39. So pretty cheap. This is not an expensive game. There are not a whole lot of minis. Retail edition, which is a Kickstarter special, is the 55. And if you want the deluxe edition, the one that would come in, it is $69. It also has a VIP special, which is super fun. There are 22 left out of 550. So everything is linked down in the description below. Feel free to check that out. There's a lot linked down there. So if you need to, pause the video anytime, Control F, find it, open another tab, and then come back to the video. Whatever you want to do, I don't care. Just, that's all there for you. I guess if you enjoy having the links available, it takes a lot to manage those. Feel free to give it a like. Moving on from that, we have Ascendancy. This is 20 days ago. These are long campaigns. I thought we weren't going to see any more long campaigns. For the longest time, we had short campaigns. 2 weeks, a quick flash and then done. So seeing these almost month-long campaigns warms my heart because it means more people are able to engage, more people are able to find out about it, get these deals, help support, give feedback, all that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of benefit to it. Then you get that kind of lull in the middle, but it's really there not to gain a lot of money unless you like spam, expansions, which Ascendancy isn't doing, stuff like that. Or you can actually just focus on your community, which we've been talking a lot about lately. So I think that's super cool. So over 1,222 to be exact. What a fun number. 183,000 raised. And this is like a crazy 4X game. This does pretty much a little bit of everything. This is a very heavy duty game. So don't go into this one on a light, filler or a party game or something like that. This will keep you invested, but it looks actually pretty smooth. It looks pretty fun. I didn't get a chance. Oh, you get to wear a crown, so that's cool. I didn't get a chance to review it or anything like that in time, which is my fault. They actually did reach out, and I'm kind of bummed because it looks really like a lot of fun. It looks cool. So if you want like some Dune Imperium and some Twilight Imperium and some Imperium and a whole lot of other stuff, worker placement, tech trees, it's got it all. There's a ton there. So yeah, that's again, link down below. Next up, we have Mistwind. This is flying whales, which I am a fan of. I actually have always thought it'd be super cool to see the, like albatrosses or cool stuff like that. But like seeing things fly in the sky that are really big, like pterodactyls and stuff would be super cool. Or like giant whales. A patron of mine ruined it by saying that they would still have to poop, and that would be very bad. So it's disregarding the poop falling from the sky the size of a truck. It's a cool idea, I think. Mistwind is definitely doing well. Almost 2,000 backers. I like to focus more on almost the backers than the money because things are priced so different, right? You get these really expensive games that raise a ton of money. We'll be covering some of those in a moment. This is by First Fish Games, and this looks like a really, really clean game. I that's my best way to describe it. The light colors, the amount of white space, it's not really white though, it's like an off yellow. It just seems like a very clean game. I hope that makes sense. Maybe it's how they show it, because they show it, with all these grids and then they line up their little cubes and stuff. But every time I look at this, just think about how clean it looks. They are doing some very smart stretch goals, very cheap things to do, for the most part, that people will still enjoy. Though I'm actually not a huge fan of linen finishes. I'm not a fan of cheap cards ever, but adding linen finish to your cheap cards and adding a cheap linen finish that just makes it blind me when I'm moving the light isn't exactly making the card better. I'm not saying theirs is like that. I'm just saying I'm not always a fan of it. But they are busy getting a whole lot of these like sideboard upgrades. thickness, a lot of thickness changes and textures and stuff like that, or custom tokens. So that's coming up. So a lot of cool stuff there. They got some events. I dig an event calendar. Make it fun. Make it a celebration of the game. So feel free to check all that out. Just know that there were some early discounts. Those are all gone. So just as an FYI on that. Next up, we have Call of Duty, the board game, everybody's favorite game that didn't live up to its potential. I feel 1,159 backers. Normally, I'm just praising some other companies, but this is obviously Call of Duty, one of the biggest video game IPs of all time. And they have $163,000 out of a $75,000 goal. They have literally like 4 stretch goals, I think, unlocked. But they've been doing some new stuff, so I'll show that first. But let's go to the stretch goals right here. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. They've unlocked 4 stretch goals. You've received a single extra mini. 3 stretch goals, because the first one's just funded. So 1 mini, 6 cards, and a map size increase for the core map only. So that's what you got. They're working towards another weapon and some other small things, but it is, like, I'm surprised, like, these are still jumping up by, 25,000 each. I mean, it's just kind of silly. It really is. It's like they're not even, I don't know, they're reacting to it weird. They do have, up at the very top here, they do have these kind of things where they're revealing stuff, but it's very much obviously early. For instance, week 1 is on 8/7, which obviously is we're past that, and it was a mystery operator. So you unlocked a mystery operator, and then you have to wait until 8/17 to find out who it is, because either they're getting approval for it, or it's I don't know. It's weird. Or plastic cover markers. Okay, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. It's pretty lackluster. It's very expensive. They don't have enough minis for it. Literally, you buy a box that's $40 and you get 2 characters. You get 2 minis that you can fight against each other ad infinitum until you get bored of it, and after 3 plays, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how much you could play the same character over and over and over again against the same character over and over and over again. Just so weird. So weird to do it this way. I don't know. It's unfortunate, because there was a lot of potential to make a lot of people happy. That's what IP games can bring to the table, and they did not. Innovation Ultimate, that's by Asmodee Games. They have 2,474 backers, so 36 days to go. Dear Lord, $164,000 raised. I showed this off earlier. If you liked Innovation, this is the Ultimate Edition. They've done a lot of enhancements and stuff like that, and it kind of groups everything together. If you have not and it looks interesting to you, well, then by all means, go ahead and check it out. But they do a very good job of showing the gameplay, showing what's new. It's very well played out here, but there's no stretch goals or anything like that. This is just, here's the game, take it if you want. And so that's kind of cool. I do kind of dig that. That's a very straightforward project where it's game first, and it's very obvious. Next up, we have Wildlands Reforged, the hand-painted TTRPG terrain. You could use this for something other than TTRPGs, by the way. Of course, you could pimp out any kind of miniature game with this, I feel, but you can definitely do it like that. These are beautiful, fantastic, and expensive. So if you can afford it and you want to do it, you will never experience anything else like it again. Like, it looks that good, literally. It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do. That being said, this is interesting. I want your opinion on this, please. 195 backers, 14 days left to go, still 2 weeks, but not even 200 backers. Now that's $200,000 because, again, it's pricey, right? You go to rewards, bam, first one, 3,526. 11 people are giving them that, right? 524, you get the cheap ones. They actually went in like reverse order, where the highest one, the featured one, is the big one, and then it kind of goes low to high again as well. So kind of interesting that they featured the big mamma jambo, but I think that's why they're doing it. And notice more people do that than the lower one, right? Yeah, for people who just want it all. That being said, there's still a whole lot of add-ons that you can also do and customize it. This is very different from how they normally do it. Now, this is also the first one on GameFound, and it's a lot less funded. So I want kind of your opinion on that. What makes this so much less? And by comparison, here's Cities Untold, 2,600 backers, 3.5 million. Here's Wildlands, 3.5 thousand backers. So the first one had 3,500 backers, 4 million raised. The one before that, Hellscape, was kind of a smaller one, but still 1,855 backers. Notice we're comparing that to 195. And this was like a small one, right? This was very focused. 1.2 million. You have the Caverns of the Deep. This is a really old one. 3,000 backers, 3.3 million. So they've been doing this. Dungeon of Doom, even older. They were making 3,002,897 backers. So is it that GameFound isn't good on this? Is it that suddenly people don't care? Is it that the offering's worse? Is it that people don't like the breakdown of add-ons as much? What is it that caused this one to be so much less? Obviously, it was 2 weeks to go. But obviously, normally, most big funding comes at the beginning. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Why do you think this one is doing so much less? And do you think Dwarven Forge should go back to Kickstarter? Or do you think that has nothing to do with it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be sure to read them. Next up, we have Nexus Legacy Edition Rulebook, $13,000 raised. 183 backers are going to get this really cool book with a whole lot of lore and stuff like that. A campaign and kind of the arena skirmish game that they do where you can like gain and progress and do stuff like that. And of course, you can reset it. Of course, they're going to offer STLs and PDFs and all sorts of other stuff. Looks super cool. If you're into Nexus, this is definitely something you should be interested in as well. If you just want some cool lore, I mean, these books are just cool to get anyway, but there's a lot of board game stuff in it as well. So feel free to check that out also. Next up, we have Vampire the Masquerade Milan Uprising. 495,000, almost 500,000. Getting there, 495,000. 1,667 backers. From my understanding, the Tebaru system was on display and Gen Con, and people quite enjoyed it, even with all the lag. But it is interesting to note that obviously the gaming was less good where there's a lot of people, which is not how most board games work. Most board games are great with people, and this is too. I'm not saying that. It's interesting to note the different things that can affect these digital-driven games, right? If there's a lot of interference and you're at a convention, it's harder to play with your friends just because of the Wi-Fi and stuff like that. Just it's kind of interesting, but they are definitely keep on keeping on. If you go to their add-ons, they have a whole bunch of stuff now at this point. They're still unlocking more and more and more all the time. And there's some cool looking stuff, right? Premium dice trays and stuff like that. A lot of these are add-ons you have to buy or you get if you back at it like a high level, of course, right? But that's kind of where they're at right now. Printed character sheets. This, in my opinion, should never be an unlock. And this is actually, I just noticed this. Not cool. Don't like this. It costs you nothing to upload your PDF unless your plan is to sell them. If your plan is to essentially make it unplayable without them doing some crappy version, or like somebody's just going to upload it to Board Game Geek files or something like that, or somebody should. Shoot, give me the file, put it on my website. That's dumb. Don't unlock printed character sheets. That's silly. If they're talking about like actually printed them out, that doesn't cost very much at all. It really doesn't. But oh well, I guess it's something else. That's a silly one. Everything else looks cool though. Let's see, Aethermon Collect. Aethermon Collect is something I covered recently. They had a terrible launch on GameFound. Also kind of interesting, you know, when it talks, I mean, terrible launches, it's kind of hard to say that. They had a successful launch and funded day one. However, there was some technical difficulties that really lagged them out, plus some crazy backers fake pledging a whole bunch of money and stuff like that, and just all sorts of weirdness. They're busy getting new artifact cards. That is for the competitive version, not the cooperative version, is my understanding on that. But cheap little $20 game may let you collect sets of animals that evolve into bigger things. Might sound kind of familiar. More on Pokemon later. Fighting Fantasy Adventures of Warlock, Firetop Mountain, and Other Stories is way too long of a title. However, almost 70,000 raised, 1,740 backers is very good, especially for something like this. I think that's awesome. I'm glad to see them succeeded. Definitely like an old school style thing. If you're into the IP, then it's an easy win, I think. Otherwise, I think they're a little upfront about the IP, and so for anybody maybe of a little bit of a younger generation, or just wasn't simply into it at the time, it's going to be a little lost on what exactly they're offering for a little bit until you get into it. It's very text heavy for a lot of it. And again, that first little bit is about the IP. So presentation skills aside, and running campaigns is definitely something that not everybody has a really good knack for. And you almost want that, right? Like how good of a salesman do you want them to be, right? But anyway, that's that. Next up, we have the Middara resin miniatures. I just wanted to show you that it is open now, and they actually are still here. In fact, the resin minis for $20, that's actually a really good deal for a resin mini. That's actually not bad at all. And so then you get essentially 20 per mini plus the gameplay breakdown if you buy it in bulk. Otherwise, it's like 30 per. So honestly, not bad at all. They do have the Vestalia one, and they do have some lo-fi Nightingales, but not the big 75mm painting one. But they also have the arcade pin, stuff like that. They have a whole bunch of other stuff here as well, so feel free to check them out, right? Here's their resin kit expansions where they just collect them all, right? But you're not really seeing anything new here. But they have, you know, games and other stuff, so feel free to check that out. Again, everything linked down below. This is almost a completely blank page. Let me tell you why I'm showing this. This is Cosmic Cows, Collectors, Patscuro, and Nero writers. Launches in 11 days. And they posted this 5 months ago, no responses, and it's probably because of how this page looks, and it's not their fault. This is backer kit just looking ugly. If you don't know, this is the picture you see when you click on it. Looks a lot more inviting now, doesn't it? Sadly, when you click on it, it gives you this page. I made sure I'm not doing any ad blocking. I'm not running any add-ons to mess anything up or anything like that. This is just simply how they do it, and it's really sad to see that. BackerKit needs to definitely still improve their visual look, because that's unfortunate. But anyway, that's coming out in 11 days, so if this looks interesting, then check it out. That'll be linked down below. Next up, we also have Reign of Hades. It says 2025, yet this was actually on display at Gen Con, and it looks super cool. As you can see, there's this crazy like hand thing going on, and you're doing the typical kind of book play like that. You got some really fun 4-dial systems going on. It's definitely a pretty looking game. In fact, you can see some of it there like that. If you look closely, you do see some minis, and I think it might be no, they're minis and standees. At least currently, remember, this is a prototype, of course, but I hear on good account that it looks pretty neat, so I will follow suit and take a look at it. So stay tuned for more. Next up, Brandon Sanderson. If you don't know who that is, he is a very prolific fantasy writer. He also does some sci-fi stuff and whatnot, but very much when it comes to writing books, he does a lot of that. He also holds the title of the most well-funded Kickstarter ever. And his Stormlight Archive novels are getting an official tabletop RPG in 2024. So, and that'll probably be on Kickstarter. Now, we don't know everything about it. And again, I'll go and link down to this is on Dicebreaker. But if you didn't know, the people doing it are the same people that did this, right? This is Brotherwise Games. They did this Kickstarter for the just miniatures, 21,966 backers, over 4 million raised for some minis. Yeah. It's popular. So if you don't know what all the fuss is, that's fine. I think his most common ones are obviously Stormlight Archives, but then also there's, I think, Mistborn is his second big series, which, by the way, I'm on the 3rd book of on that. But anyway, yeah, they also did this as well before, a kind of a little kind of card game-ish like thing going on here. So, like, he's definitely pushing into this. I hear there's some like movie stuff as well. It's an IP you're going to be seeing everywhere. He's definitely pushing for that. But board games, obviously, at 4 million raised off of one, already doing quite well just for some minis. So it's going to be big. Next up, I covered the Black Rose Wars Duels Lex. They are sold out. So even though I'm a little cautious about Loose Man Studio, there are still plenty of people that love it. Every time I mention my kind of sourness and mention even Black Rose Wars, there are those of you who speak up about how much you love it. And I think that's so cool. That's awesome. And I'm glad people can have all sorts of opinions on things. And as long as you're finding joy in what you buy, then by all means continue. That's number one concern right there. But they are sold out. They're looking to see if they can print out more. So if you're looking for this, if you're just now hearing about this, hold on, subscribe. You'll see an update. I'll tell you if they become available again. Next up, we have the Forest Rush, who has an update in the project description, which is cool, that they listen to opinion and stuff. And then you come over here to campaign, and sure enough, like they actually did. They put some animation. They were gameplay first now before they weren't. So that's super cool to see. What's not super cool to see is that they ended up canceling after doing the update. However, their update was June 27th. And it was July 30th when they canceled it. So just like no engagement, nothing happened. Then it received 1 heart. It was flat, right? 5 backers, right? So it just didn't land. And really, they botched their, like, if it had launched on this, it would have been slightly better. Not all the way better. They're still doing a whole lot of stuff with STLs and a whole bunch of other stuff. I think they just need to focus on a game, if that's what they're doing, or focus on minis, if that's what they're doing. I don't like splitting things up because you get backers that want one or the other, or don't care about one or the other, and then you can never make everybody happy. Make one thing, make everybody there love that one thing, and you're guaranteed to be a little bit more successful than just trying to do everything. My opinion, anyway. Next up, we have Chaos at Gen Con. Now, I'm going to mention this because this is already a long video that I'm going to cover this quickly, but I will have a dedicated discussion on the inner workings of this later. Not just Gen Con, but trading card games in general and the industry at large. It's going to be a dedicated video that'll be coming up soon. Subscribe if you're interested on that. Now, what's going on here? Organizational failures lead to dangerous mob at opening of Gen Con 2023 and Disney Lorcana release. This is from the worldwide leader in Disney park news. It's where this is from. So thank you, patron, for linking this to me. This is not where I would have looked. But they're talking about 5,000 people and all kinds of messed up stuff. So like there's a lot going on there. You can see these pictures. It is insane. So yeah, the line was ever shifting and it was a mess. Suffice it to say, the first person to buy it was not anybody that stood in line for hours. It was actually a staff event person that just had access to the booth quicker. So good job, Gen Con. The reason you might be seeing this and thinking, why is there such a rush for Lorcana? Well, if you didn't know, Lorcana has Disney theme on it, which if you didn't know, very, very popular. Very, very popular. It's also a trading card game. If you didn't know why that matters, it's because of stuff like this. An enchanted version of Sleeping Beauty's Aurora sold for $250. A Stitch sold for $325 and Elsa sold for as much as $750. Enchanted Simba is listed by different sellers for $350, $1,000, and $2,500, and it could be either higher or lower in the future. And a set of cards exclusive to last year's D23 will likely forever be the most expensive pieces in the game, though these 6 cards, Mickey Mouse, Cruella de Vil, Elsa, Captain Hook, Maleficent, Robin Hood, and Stitch, were selling for $2,000 during the event. But less than a year later, they are now listed for $20,000. Even this could seem like pennies in a few years if the game kicks off. And you can buy it at your friendly local gaming store, like Best Buy. Look, again, I'll be covering exactly what that all entails later. It's a nuanced thing, and I have a lot of opinion on it, so I want to discuss that with you in detail. I've been covering trading card games for years. I've been into them for years, and I know exactly what's going on. I know the craze. I know about Pokemon cards with alternate art from art contests, okay? We'll be talking about it. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Cover that later. Stay tuned for that. I also have my game table review. That'll be coming out tomorrow, so check in on that. Of course, stay tuned for more board game news and reviews, unboxings, discussions, all coming up, guys. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day. If you don't mind, one favor, like the video. Leave a comment. Let me know this video is helpful for you. That makes this so worth it. So thank you guys for being so awesome. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, guys. Bye.